What's up, everybody? It is another episode of Between the Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan. That is Christopher Hall, and it is time to make our revised game-by-game predictions for West Virginia. They're 2-2 so far as we head into the bye week, and just to kind of recap what we picked in those first four games, Chris and I both picked Penn State over West Virginia. We got that right. We both obviously picked West Virginia over UAlbany. We both picked we both picked West Virginia over Pitt. Got that one wrong, but we did get the Kansas game right, both picking the Mountaineers. So that's where things stand. And as we move forward here, we'll see if any of our picks change. So I'll go ahead and kind of set the table here with each matchup, what our picks were originally, and then we can get into our week by week predictions. So coming out of the break, West Virginia has Oklahoma State on the road in our preseason prediction. We both picked Oklahoma State, and yeah, I'm not changing that one. I mean, Oklahoma State is a really good football team. They've given West Virginia fits over the years. It's a tough venue to play at. Mike Gundy's a really good coach. I could go on and on and on as to why I'm going to pick Oklahoma State. And plus, now I will say they are in a weird kind of a tough stretch that kind of sets up nicely for West Virginia. And anytime something sets up nicely for the Mountaineers, regardless of the sport, it never pans out. Oklahoma State just lost to Utah, a very tough physical game that kind of came down to the wire late. And now they have Kansas State this week. So two tough, really physical games leading into that West Virginia game. Sounds nice from West Virginia's perspective, also because you're on a bye week, but I don't see how they're going to be able to overcome that, go to Stillwater, win a big game. Under Neil Brown, this team just has not won very many big games, let alone on the road. Going to go with the Pokes.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give West Virginia a better chance to win this game now because Oklahoma State has a quarterback controversy all of a sudden after they
Yeah,
took Alabama out. So a lot really rides on this weekend. They go 0-2 and Bowman's done. Uh, Maybe they find the spark in the other kid. It's this the wheels could be falling off in Oklahoma State where they can bounce back and come strong. But you know, history tells they've only won twice out there since joining the Big 12. Tough venue. They won out there last time. Oklahoma State got revenge in Morgantown last year. They always seem to find a way to win. So kind of hard to go against Oklahoma State at this point. I gave them no chance to win this game, but I'm putting the percentage up there a little bit. Got to see what happens against. They go to Manhattan. Kansas State just got
yeah.
blown out, and they almost lost an early non-conference game. So what's going on in Manhattan as well? So that's a big top
That's a
25
massive game.
matchup. It's a massive game
One of
for
those
both
teams going to go
teams.
0-2.
Yep, one of them's going to go 0-2, and both of them, were in contention for the Big 12. Now I won't put them out even at 0-2. They could get some help and get in there,
Sure.
but I already had Oklahoma State losing to Utah and then getting them back in the Big 12 championship. So Gundy hasn't had the success in recent years as they normally have had. He's never really had that real bounce back. I know they went to the championship last year, but it wasn't really I mean, they lost to South Alabama last year, so it wasn't like a barn burner season. But kind of curious to see what happens because again, Gundy hasn't had the successes he normally has had, and there's been some rumblings within that fan base that maybe his time's done. They lose again, it could get ugly there. And not that he's gonna lose a job, just it can get ugly in Stillwater as when Mountaineers roll in.
Oh, that's going to be a tough one right out of the chute. But they do get to come back for two games at Mountaineer Field, and it starts with Iowa State. And this will be a game where Rocco Becht comes into town along with his dad, who's going to be honored, who was inducted into WV Sports Hall of Fame. He will get honored once again as he makes his return to Morgantown. So should be a fun afternoon, maybe a night game. I don't know. But I had this game as a win at first for West Virginia. Actually, we both did. I'm going to flip flop one this game and another decision that I have coming up. So I'm going to actually go Iowa State here. They're a very tough, salty team defensively, and I think that defense is always going to give teams trouble in this league. They just present a different picture than really a lot of teams do, and I know some other teams in the league, even West Virginia, is kind of copying some of that stuff that they do with the back end of their defense, but it's a tough defense to go against. Rocco Becht is continuing to look better and better each week. And I finally found a running game with Abu Sama, who is actually running the ball well, and they did not run the ball whatsoever last year very good. So I think that's a difference maker. Defense travels. Cyclones get the win. They drop the Mountaineers to 2-4.
No rhyme or reason. I'm sticking with the Mountaineers. I still
Hey,
have faith this team um, gets it done in the Big 12 conference slate. So I think Mountaineers win while Anthony Beck gets his induction, gets his recognition for being in the W Hall of Fame. Of course, we all know this goes the other way usually, but I'm sticking with the Mountaineers.
do you think he can leave the stadium sad that day? I mean, I don't. I think either way, he's going to be happy with the result.
Yeah, I'm sure he's probably more rooting for his son to do well than the Mountaineers winning. But I think they can get to Rocco. I think they showed this week that they're shoring up their pass rush lanes and being able to contain quarterbacks. And if they can continue to add pressure, TJ Jackson just continues to get stronger, stronger, and stronger every single week. Um, but getting some other guys in there, like see Sean Martin getting a little more action in the pass rushing game. But I'm going to stick with the Mountaineers on this one. Iowa State doesn't blow teams out, and if you give West Virginia a chance there on the final drive of the game, you got like where it's at, where they're at in the 2 minute offense. So I think West Virginia may pull out one there late.
So here's the other one I'm going to flip. I had West Virginia losing this game to Kansas State first, but now I'm going to say they're going to win this game. And so it really doesn't change much. I have them still going 1-1 in this homestand. But Kansas State just it kind of feels like a team that's going to be a little inconsistent this year. They've at times looked really good. They found a way to beat Tulane on the road in what was a very tough game. They obviously had the blowout loss or the blowout win against Arizona. Then they go to BYU, who was kind of shorthanded at running back, and they found a way to squander that game in a big way. They got blown out. So I don't know what to really make out of Kansas State. They're a team I think that's just going to figure it out and maybe get better deeper into the year. I think West Virginia's catching them at a good time. They get the win, move to 3-4.
Yeah, I'm sticking with West Virginia as well. I like West Virginia at home this year. Period. Um, I'm not even going to get into all of it. I'm just going to continue my West Virginia is going to handle business at home. It's definitely going to be close. I don't think they'll BYU them at this point because they'll make adjustments and get better by the time they come into Morgantown. But I'm going to stick with West Virginia for everything I said against Iowa State. As long as they have a chance in the fourth quarter, because I do believe they're just going to continue to improve in small increments as the season goes along, that they're going to find a way to win late. And I think by then, again, they'll be able to contain Avery Johnson. They're going to give up some plays, but I think the offense can match it. And again, if they get that final opportunity late in the game, I think they'll find a way to win. So I'm going to continue with West Virginia.
We're both going to stick with Arizona here. As I'm feeling like this is one that it keeps nudging me towards West Virginia, and I've had this as a loss essentially since the schedule came out. You know what? Screw it. Yeah, I'm going to go with the Mountaineers here. And I'm probably crazy for it because Noah Fafita is a really good quarterback. Tet McMillan is probably the best receiver in the country, probably going to win the Biletnikoff. But I just have a weird feeling about this one. It kind of feels similar to the TCU game last year, where it just kind of felt like from the get go it was going to be a loss playing in Fort Worth. TCU, you kind of expected to have a bounce back. But I don't know. I'm getting nudged more in the West Virginia direction here, and I think that Kansas State win the previous week will kind of help propel them. So I don't know how they're going to do it. I don't know how many yards they're going to give up, but this could be a shootout. Could be a lot of fun. But Arizona too, they've not looked tremendous either. They only scored what 20, I think 22 points against Northern Arizona. They didn't look good against Kansas State, who's an inconsistent team themselves. I think Arizona may be a little vulnerable, so I'm going to go with West Virginia on the road.
Sticking with Arizona. Long travel. They don't do well in venues that they haven't played at before under Neil Brown. Probably going to be a night game, so a new team coming into the stadium, probably going to be packed. So just I've had bad vibes about this game. Again, new venue for this team just does not bode well for them. They, of course, they went to UCF and won last year in the venue, but just don't like it. Much better talented team than UCF was last year. Um, so I think I don't even. I think it'll be close, but I think it's one of those games where it's close, but Arizona keeps going up by 10 or 14 points kind of deal.
Yeah.
And West Virginia just can't make that one stop, or when they do make the stop, they don't put that one drive together to get back to either
Sounds like
three
a really
or
frustrating
tie the
game.
game. Yeah, it's 100% going to be frustrating. So hot, it's probably going to be hot night game. So out there it would be like four if it's 7, 8, obviously, but part time would be either 5 or 4 at that point. But I just don't like it. It just seems like a really bad matchup for West Virginia. It's just one of those when you look across the board, look across the two deep, look how they attack. Yes, West Virginia can make plenty of adjustments by then, um, but I give the nod to their quarterback to be able to still break kind of that pass containment, even though I just said that West Virginia's pass containment will get better. But this is new coaching staff is going to continue, like I think West Virginia is doing. Their coaching staff is going to continue to incrementally get better. They're going to get more cohesiveness, and they'll improve as the season goes along. So I'm going to stick with Arizona.
Moving into the bye week and the second bye week, that is, they have two this year, and then they come out of that with a little quick bus trip over to Cincinnati and the Bearcats. This is the one of the games that you just look at and you're like, you start chalking it up as a W. And as soon as you get to that second part of the W, you're like, is this one of those games that they're just going to lay an egg? No, I'm going to finish the W. I'll give them the win, but it feels like this could be one of those games where you got to kind of hold your breath, almost kind of like the Kansas game this past week. Like at halftime, you're up 14-7 against Kansas. You feel like you're about to just kind of go on and take control of this thing. And for some reason, you let them hang around. That's just exactly what this game feels like. Cincinnati was up big on Pitt the week before the backyard brawl. They blew that game. It feels like this is going to be a really good kind of low scoring ish type back and forth game, but I'm going to go West Virginia.
Yeah, I thought this was a huge. I thought this was an easy dub. But Cincinnati is looking a little bit more formidable than we might have
Yeah.
imagined. 3-1, just they shut out Houston. Yeah, beat Houston. Just beat Houston 34-0. Obviously, Houston's on a good football team. But Cincinnati last year struggled with everybody. They had 3 wins last year, so already matched their win total from last year. Much improved team. Um, a lot tougher than expected. Definitely expect this to be like 27-24, 31-27, something crazy, something close, nail biting all the way through. Probably a frustrating game at times. Well, plenty of turnovers from both teams, but I'm gonna get West Virginia's not to sneak out a win, but get the win. Just like I thought they would at the beginning of the year.
West Virginia then comes back home to take on Baylor. We both picked West Virginia in the preseason prediction, and I'm going to stick with that here. I don't. I do think Baylor's probably better than we thought they would be coming into the year. They're also 2-2 at this point, but I don't know what their quarterback situation is going to be at that juncture of the season. If it's going to be Daquan Finn or if it's going to be Sawyer Robertson, who started the game last week and played against Colorado. With Dave Aranda, they're always going to have a good defense. They're going to be able to hang into games. I just don't know that they're going to have the offensive firepower to keep up with this West Virginia offense. So I think the Mountaineers win. Maybe find a way to win this one by 2 scores.
Yeah, Baylor's struggling. Not spend a lot of time on this. Continue. Um, They just lost to Colorado. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Colorado's not good. Yes, they got two great players. They were up. They led Colorado most time. I understand it was in Boulder, but I'm gonna stick with Baylor hasn't won in Morgantown, correct? So I'm not going to really go against that trend either. So West Virginia beats Baylor.
Senior day will be against UCF, and I've been so hard on this damn team for so long, and they've kind of proven me wrong. They went on the road and beat TCU, so hats off to them. But I feel like at some point in this season, well, I don't want to say the wheels are going to fall off, but I think they're going to kind of stumble back down to earth a little bit. So,
Depth is going to be an issue
yes,
at that point.
yes.
Depth.
So I do believe West Virginia win this game. Garrett Green's not going to lose the last game of his career at Mountaineer Field. I just don't see it happening. So Mountaineers.
Yep. Hopefully it's a little colder than they're used to as well. West Virginia wins. Probably a little closer than I thought early in the year. But yeah, they're not ready for the depth. You saw it last year when guys started going down for UCF. This is only year 2 for them. They didn't just all of a sudden bring in a bunch of talent at once. So I will stick with West Virginia over UCLA.
Wow, I have them at what, one, two, three, four, 5 game winning streak right now heading into the season finale. You have them winning, let's see, the three in a row, four of the last five, five of the last six. Do they finish the season strong in Lubbock? This is a tough place to play, of course, especially being late November. You don't know what the winds are going to be like down there. They're going to be whipping all in every which direction. I'm going to go with Texas Tech. I had this as a West Virginia win at first, and even then, when I picked West Virginia, I didn't really feel that great about it. I just can't see West Virginia just going on a tear at the end of the season, and they're gonna drop a game they probably shouldn't. And heck, it may be a game earlier in the year, like I said, to Cincinnati, or maybe it's this game here against Texas Tech. But I'll go with the Red Raiders and Joey McGuire. That offense, they'll find a way to put up some points against this defense.
Yeah, this one was a coin flip for me at the beginning of the year. And if you look at Tech's schedule, three of the last five games are on the road at TCU, Iowa State, and before they play West Virginia at Oklahoma State. And in between at Iowa State, they play Colorado. So yeah, there's no real easy game. I guess we can say Houston at this point may be the easier of the games. But at Oklahoma State, that could end the season for them. Depend, where they're at. Obviously, they're 3-1, I believe, right now. They just beat Arizona State. Is there Arizona State team that's 3-0? A little bit surprised, a surprising Arizona State team, but it's going to be interesting where Oklahoma State at. We kind of touched on Oklahoma State as well. Are they still fighting and clawing for a Big 12 title game? How physical is that game? We come back home for the season finale against West Virginia. It's still a bit of a coin flip. Not really, I haven't really got to see a lot of Tech right now, but I'm going to stick with West Virginia. Really not. Even though I said last week I wasn't going to predict West Virginia to win more games the rest of the year, they showed a lot of improvement against Kansas State, but or against Kansas, but I'm going to stick with West Virginia here just because down that stretch, they have a much tougher stretch heading into that season finale than West Virginia does, especially against physical teams. And just like it will for West Virginia, West Virginia's got under Neil Brown's gotten them to play at the end of the season. How much, is it a season spoiler for West Virginia if they lose that game at that point? Is there a
Yeah.
chance they get in the Big 12 championship if I still have them at two losses at that point? So there could be a lot on line. Texas Tech still might be fighting for a championship spot as well. So it's good if West Virginia continues to improve. They definitely have a shot. I haven't liked their chances in away games much this year outside of Cincinnati, but I'm going to give them the nod still in Lubbock, and it will probably be windy that day. So hopefully West Virginia can fix their run, have a more of a consistent rushing attack, and get back
Yes,
to that prowess
preach
that
it.
they had last year.
Yeah, I mean that's going to be a wild game. At that, I just it just has the
They haven't
makings.
played well in Lubbock
No,
historically, so they're going to have to go against that. As there's a lot against West Virginia going into that game, but again, look at their schedule compared to West Virginia's. Where is it kind of what's going to kind of happen? Who's healthy going into that game?
yeah, that'll play a big part of it for sure. Game 12, you got a lot of beating up bodies both sides of the ball. So no matter who will be available. So how did we finish? Well, in the preseason prediction, I went and said 8-4 for the Mountaineers. And in our revised predictions, I have them now going 7-5. So one game less. All things considered, not that bad, because it's not been an ideal start by any means. It hasn't looked like a team that is kind of building on that success from 2023. But 7-5, I still think overall is a disappointment. I think you got to win 8 or more games to really feel like you're trending in the right direction, turning the corner, if you will. But that's what you have them at. You had them at 9-3 in the preseason. Now you have them at 8-4. So we both have them going one less win than we predicted in the
Well,
preseason.
the loss that they had was Pitt. I haven't moved away
Right.
from the
Wait,
rest of
that
my
is true. That
predictions.
is very true.
And they should have won that Pitt game. Pitt's a lot better team. They just put up, I know it's Youngstown State, but they lost to Youngstown State not that long ago. So they put up 73 points up at Youngstown State. So that Pitt team may be a lot better than we gave them credit for heading into the season. Obviously playing with confidence. I think they just snuck into the top 20. I shouldn't say snuck in because they've earned it at this point. That they've gotten in the top 25. So yes, things haven't went smoothly for West Virginia, but you're starting to see improvements in certain areas. Yes, not dramatic improvements, but they only have so much time with these kids during the week, and that these aren't professionals, even though they are getting paid now. It's still a lot different than the NFL. So
Oh yeah.
just even going through it, you just, probably the two picks right now that I'm most concerned about is Iowa State and Texas Tech. Everything you said about Iowa State, I really can't build off of that. I just got to kind of trust that they're going to continue to improve because the pass rush wasn't that good the first couple of games of the season, but all of a sudden Pitt in the last two games, it's improved a lot since then. So yes, they will make strides, they will get better, and I think just familiarity with each other with some of these Big 12 teams, the way they've played tough against Iowa State. I think since they got blown out a few years ago against Iowa State, they've kind of turned that around as of late. So yeah, and then everything I just talked about at Lubbock. So yeah, there's still some questionable games on my picks, but I still have faith that this team, especially if Garrett can just kind of get out of his head and just play, I think they still have everything ahead of them. They still have a fighting chance to get a Big 12 championship.
And I don't want to make the assumption that they're going to lose at Oklahoma State, but I mean,
Yeah, again, it's like I said,
let's
like
just let's just say
quarterback
they do.
controversy early in the season, and if he continues to Kansas State, all of a sudden, if they win that game, I may be trading that with Iowa State, right? Like you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's just that's just how it works. Sometimes they just trade off losses. So yeah,
Neil
that Oklahoma State, like I said, that's still a better chance than I thought prior to the year that they have.
Neil Brown is 2-14 as a WVU head coach against ranked teams. He's got three ranked opponents coming out of this bye week. So this is it. Like this is the make or break of what's going to be their season. Are they going to be a team that's going to be contending late in November, or are they just going to be a team that's going to be fighting and scrapping just to get bowl eligible? You're going to find out in these next three games because even if you lose at Oklahoma State, it's not like the season's over. Now you look at it, you're 2-3, and you're thinking, "Oh, this is not good," but you're you're still 500 in league play with two home games on deck against two teams that are going to be in the mix too. You can take care of business there. You control your own destiny still. So, but if not, and you lose those three games coming up, the wheels could really start to get a little rocky and you might have them fall off at some point. So this thing could go a million different ways still, but there's still a chance that they could find their way into the Big 12 title game, as crazy as it sounds, at the end of the season.
Yeah, absolutely. It does. It sounds crazy at 2-3 that they can still be in a good spot, but if you kind of look at it, it'd be 3-2 if they hold on to Pitt. So it's really not
Yeah.
that big of a difference from a conference standpoint. They are who, I think both of us kind of thought that it would be a fight to the end against Kansas preseason. Guess what? It still was. So
Yeah.
it's still it's the Big 12. It is what it is. You got to come out and just find ways to win late. If they can do that, maybe they learned their lesson against Pitt. Just build off that and keep it going.
Yep. So that'll do it for today's episode of Between the Ears. I'm Schuyler Callihan. That's Christopher Hall. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube at West Virginia on SI. Follow us on X at SI_WVU. Again, no walkthrough game day show this week on Thursday. No Between the Ears on Sunday morning. We're back to the normal schedule next Tuesday. So for Christopher Hall, I'm Schuyler Callihan. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on Tuesday. Take care.